Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Stott and I'm the Empire of Stomaria. Today I want to discuss Stomaria's first ever harvest.
This is how nations are built and empires are forged. For every nation that becomes integrated into the empire, for every territory that we acquire, for every citizen that joins us, for every drop of water we collect, for every seed that we sow, for every watt of energy we produce, for every silver bar that we stamp, we are securing our future.
So as many of our followers will already know, the imperial family of Stomaria purchased some land from the Kingdom of Wayward, which even at that time was already a member state of the empire, towards the end of 2022. Now, some people have asked the question as to why we would have purchased land from a nation, from a community that already formed a part of the empire. And the answer to this is very much twofold. First, it allowed us to purchase land that we already had a history with, that we were already familiar with, and we could justifiably use this land in whichever way we wanted. Second, it was incredibly beneficial to Wayward itself. Not only because of the injection of revenue into Wayward through the sale of this land to the imperial family of Stomaria, but it also meant that as a part of the empire, they could still utilize that land to some degree or another, not only to have access to the land itself, but access through that land to the adjacent woodland territory, which is under the jurisdiction of Wayward, and that is called Wayward South. Now, this would not have been possible were it sold to a private developer. And this is what genuine, real-world mutual cooperation looks like. This is an absolute cornerstone of the empire in order to ensure that there is mutual prosperity for all. So once the land was purchased, we began to clear this woodland. That is to say, there was a lot of old fencing, there were chicken pens, there were crates, there were tubs of goodness knows what. There was a lot of stuff in this woodland territory, and we wanted to clear it all out because what we intended to do was to reshape the land through some rather intensive landscaping works. We shifted goodness knows how many tons of soil. We pulled out dozens of stumps. We erected new fencing all around our perimeter. We established new pathways in order to reduce flooding. We built a new shed in order to store our tools. And of course, we established dozens of raised beds, which were filled with soil and compost, and obviously eventually the plants, vegetables and herbs themselves. And these were all allocated to Stomarian citizens. Now, in times past, Wayward had grown fruits and vegetables in this same area, in this same plot, because this is where the most sun was within the woodland. And I think it's fair to say they never had a huge amount of success with that. There were a few outliers, a few fruits and vegetables that did prosper in that particular area, and we did take note of that. But I wanted to take things further. I wanted to see what else we could do. And so this time in our history is very much a trial and error phase, trying to see what we can do with this new territory of ours. Because make no mistake, this was a learning curve for us from the outset. It was always going to be, because we had never attempted to do anything quite like this before, and we had certainly never attempted to do it in a woodland. But as you can see, you shouldn't listen to people who say that you cannot grow fruits, vegetables, herbs, and all the rest in a woodland plot, because evidently you can. In fact, even King Raoul of Wayward himself expressed to me just how surprised and impressed he was that we'd managed to grow what we had. That is to say, even I had exceptionally limited expectations when it came to some of the fruits and vegetables and herbs that we actually planted. The tomatoes and the lettuce being a prime example. I had absolutely no expectations for them to survive, much less thrive, but they have proven to be the most successful plants in this plot that we have purchased and developed and sort of trialed. They have exceeded expectations, and it's very likely that we are going to be taking these plants and we're going to be planting more of them at Southwood based purely on how successful they have been. Whereas plants where I thought they were going to be successful because they've been successful in the past have not done as well as I would have hoped. And a good example of this would be the rhubarb. It didn't quite take off in the same way that I had hoped. Don't get me wrong, it did survive, it did grow, we did harvest it, but there wasn't as much as I thought there was going to be. And perhaps that's just my own expectations, maybe getting a little bit too far ahead of reality, I suppose. But the point stands that some of the fruits and the vegetables and the herbs that have succeeded are ones that I did not necessarily expect to succeed, or were certainly very low down my list on things that I thought were going to thrive there. But, these things can surprise you. And this is why we trialed these fruits, these herbs and these vegetables. This is why we had so many, over 24 of these plants in this small territory, in this small woodland plot, just to see what was going to take, what was going to be worth pursuing. And we are learning so much all along the way in terms of what we can grow, how we can grow it, and what the potential is in this territory. But what was really exciting about this first harvest that we had, which King Raoul of Wayward did actually assist us with, was that this is something that I really wanted Princess Eleanor to be heavily involved with, spearheading it if at all possible, as much as you can spearhead something when you're 3 years old. And this is because Princess Eleanor is the first ever Stomarian-born citizen. She was born a week before our 1-year anniversary. She is as Stomarian gets in that respect. But more than this, she is also technically the first ever governor of the first ever province that Stomaria has ever had. And to involve her in the first ever harvest of Stomarian produce that we've ever had, that's something to me. That means something, because it's history in the making as far as we're concerned. I know it's not grand or spectacular or, national or international news as such, but it is very important to me personally, because everything that I do, I am ultimately doing for Princess Eleanor. I am doing it because she is going to eventually be the one that takes the reins. She's going to take things to the next level. Everything that I'm doing is going to be small scale, small potatoes, if you like, compared to what I expect her to be able to do in the future when her time comes as the Empress of Stomaria. And as I say, this is just something that was very important to me to instill in her, I suppose, a sense of involvement, a sense of duty, and to make sure that she is as familiar as possible with the people involved in Stomaria and the wider empire, including the Waywardian community, and to be able to just see her involve herself, to interact with people in a very real way, and just getting stuck in the way that she does, not just with the fruits and vegetables and all the rest of that being harvested, but just in terms of playing with children from the Waywardian community or the Stomarian community, or collecting the eggs from Wayward to give to King Raoul. These are all things that I'm really excited for her to be involved in. And I'm really glad that she does like to spend time there and get involved in the way that she does. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to highlight about this particular process, because it's more than just harvesting fruits and vegetables. It's about making history. So in terms of the harvest itself, we only took a small amount of produce. We took some potatoes, we took some rhubarb, we took some shallots, we took some chives, some mint, and we took some lettuce as well. And all of this had been either consumed, stored, or sold by the day's end. And we ourselves are still utilizing the potatoes that we harvested, as well as the shallots and some of the beetroot leaves was the other one. And we are going to be utilizing those before too long. But as I say, all of it has been either utilized, consumed, or stored in some form or another. And that's great to see, because this is just the tip of the iceberg, really. This was just the first little snippet of what we're going to hope is a larger harvest further down the line. Because the lettuce, there's going to be a lot more lettuce. There's going to be cucumber, Brussels sprouts, swede, broccoli. There's going to be eventually the blueberries and the raspberries, but that might be next year at this point, as well as the raspberries. The tomatoes, they're still growing, and there's just a lot going on. I mean, even the grapevine that we have has flourished, and I say flourished, it has continued to grow, it's continued to surprise me. It's flourished in comparison to what I was expecting to do, which was just die. As a grapevine, you'd think, maybe somewhere in the Mediterranean or something like that, that kind of area, that kind of atmosphere, maybe that would survive in that sort of region, but you wouldn't think in the south of England, in the middle of a woods, that you would have a grapevine successfully taking root and successfully spreading across the actual land itself. But it is, and that's just great to see. So that's just another aspect of Stomaria's trial and error phase. We want to see what's going to happen, and because this was obviously gifted to us, it didn't actually cost us anything to plant this, and I am just incredibly surprised as to how successful it has been. Now, in addition to all this, the extended members of the imperial family also have their own chickens, their own ducks, and consequently their own eggs. We also have hives that are being established and are going to be producing honey from next year onwards. In fact, this is going to be something that you'll probably hear more about, because it is something that we are seriously considering doing on a more industrial scale, by purchasing some land and potentially installing however many hives on this land in order to produce honey on a larger scale, in order to make it a profitable industry, a profitable business. Some more research has been done into this, but that is on the radar. But even beyond this, again, we have extended members of the imperial family which do have access to entire orchards, where we have plums, where we have apples, where we have pears, and all the rest of it. All of this is something that we can acquire and we can utilize. Not to mention the wider Stomarian community that doesn't have any personal affiliation with me. And that is to say, there are people out there that are able to provide a wide range of products and a wide range of services to the benefit of Stomaria and to the wider empire. A good example of this would be Lord Harvey of Stomaria, who supplied the Imperial Summit with various dairy products, clotted creams, ice creams, yogurts, and all the rest. We have the potential within Stomaria and within the wider empire to take steps towards providing for ourselves. And once the Kingdom of Wayward and the Republic of Vesta and other member states of the Empire, which will join in the future, begin ramping up production of their own products and the supply of their own services, we are gradually going to be seeing these exchanges within the Empire become larger and more significant. In the fullness of time, the Empire could become largely self-reliant in many fields. We may be able to supply much of our own food, much of our own water, much of our own energy, much of our own housing. This is the vision that we have. We want to be able to attain greater levels of self-reliance and self-determination through legal and legitimate means, and this is the way to do it. And something that many people, even now, don't understand is that what we are doing is not just some hobby. It's not something that we drift in and out of when we get bored. This is about my family. This is about my community. And this is about other communities reshaping our very lives, changing our own destiny, forging our own futures. So if you wanted to show support for Stomaria and for the wider empire, then please feel free to give this video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.